What is up? Welcome into the Early Edge powered by SportsLine. I am your host, Allan Bell. We are going to take the next hour and get you ready for all the games today on the NFL slate from the 1 o'clock hour, the 4 o'clock hour, get you set up and get you ready for every bet that you need. Let's waste zero time. Bring in the stars of the show. I want to see my boys here. And look at this crew. I love it. I love it. Now, here's how we're going to start. I want to talk about the inactives, actives that we have on the slate today because there's a ton and a lot of big names. So, Maestro, I'm going to throw it to you first, and you guys feel free to jump in afterward. Maestro, who you seeing, buddy?
Yeah, hey, guys. Terry McLaurin is active. That's the biggest one. Allen Robinson for the Bears. Mike Williams also for the Chargers active. T.Y. Hilton active for the first time this season. Slayton is out for the Giants, so Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard, the main guys there. The one thing that jumps out at me is Terry McLaurin's number is 5.5. It's juiced way up. I mean, if he was healthy, I'd go over 6.5 in this matchup, and I would just want to get Alex's take on that one. But it's just worrisome, with the hammy. What if he catches 4 and then pulls the hammy and that's it?
Yeah, I mean, with the soft tissue, Larry, you can never be too careful. Obviously, that's one of the scariest things when a player has coming into a game. So, yeah, one slight pull, and then, he could be out for the game. So I'd err super cautiously on him if you're looking at something regarding him. Obviously, if he's healthy, this is a smash spot. But, yeah, with him potentially one slight movement in the wrong direction, I'd be afraid to personally play him.
Yeah, I want to comment on that too. I think that with guys like Tyreek, guys like McLaurin, both dealing with injuries, if you like them, which there's obviously a ton of reason to like them, they're both in great spots. I would lean more towards their yards than their receptions number. I think that it's a little bit safer on the yards because their yards are they're big play guys that can get there on a single play or two, where the others require just a little bit more volume. And the more volume they're getting, there is, again, more risk of that injury popping up. But if you're leaning on either one of those, I would lean on their yardage more than their actual reception numbers.
One person on the inactive list that we didn't bring up is the coach. The coach, obviously not here with us on the show. He is, I believe, golf, right? My man is all across the country taking care. I think he has golf this weekend.
No, he's on HQ, CBS Sports
HQ at the Trop in AC.
That's it.
He's with us in spirit, gentlemen, right above my shoulder.
Oh, it looks good. Look at it.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow. Well, yeah, we definitely wanted to address it. Obviously, you seeing me and not him, but yeah, he's a busy man. But yeah, CBS Sports HQ. You can check him out. Our man will be all over in Atlantic City. Now, everyone knows the rules on the show. Here's how it's going to go down. 500 likes, we're giving away 5 year-long subs to SportsLine. If we hit 1,000 likes, we'll give away 10 year-long subscriptions to SportsLine. So everyone make sure, drop that, hit the likes, hit subscribe, be active in the chat, and drop any questions that you may have. Because, again, we're going to go through every single game that we have on the board leading up to Sunday night. And you know what? We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. So our first game we're going to break down, Packers at Bears. The Packers are a 5.5-point favorite. That number has crept up all week, a total of 44. Maestro, we'll start with you. What do you see here in this game?
I don't have a ton on this game. I think the matchup that's going to be interesting is, I believe it's Jalen Johnson. Oh, and now the Dolphins got a touchdown. This is sickening. This is just sickening to have the Jaguars twice down in the red zone, come away with nothing. Anyway, so I just think to see Devontae Adams against that corner is going to be a great matchup. I think they're going to pound it today. I like the running backs, both running backs in this matchup. Was thinking about going over on their props, but in terms of the side, I don't have anything.
Yeah, and who we have here at SportsLine, people that we have on this game. I'm on the Packers -4.5. Dave Richard's on Justin Fields over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and Matt Severance is on the Packers -4.5 as well. I'm so fascinated with this game because you look at what the Packers have gone through the last 2 weeks. It's been up and down. We saw Mason Crosby last week have just an insane game in terms of missed field goals, but they got the win. And then you look on the other side with Chicago, Justin Fields, a little bit banged up, but they say that he's good to go. You guys talked about Allen Robinson earlier. It's just a fascinating game from all sides. Any other thoughts, M-squared, Alex, that you guys might have in regards to this game? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm interested in this game for a number of reasons. I'm going to pay close attention to the Packers' backfield. A.J. Dillon has been week by week. His usage has increased. He's running more routes out of the backfield. He's getting more carries. He looks really good. He's ascending in this offense close to a 60-40 split with Aaron Jones. I think that's going to continue. It doesn't make sense to me if I'm the Packers to give Aaron Jones large workloads at this stage of the season. It's obviously a long season. That position absorbs so much contact, so hard to stay healthy through 16 or 17 games. So yeah, I'm interested to see if that continues. A.J. Dillon continues to have around double-digit carries, be involved in the passing game. That's something I'm going to look closely at. I know Aaron Rodgers went on record saying he's more and more comfortable with A.J. Dillon running routes. We saw last week he had 4 catches. On the other side, I'm interested to see what happens in a scenario when Fields or the Bears are trailing. Is this offense the Bears offense going to open up a little bit more? Is Justin Fields going to run more? So yeah, I think there's a lot of really interesting things to look for in this game.
Yeah, it feels like there are a lot of like prop opportunities, across the board on both sides. Now, real quick, M Square, before we get to you, I do have to give a shout out. Jesse Greenwald says, AB looks like he's doing morning news at a high school. So that's one of the better ones that I've heard too. So well done on that one. We did have a question real quick, and I'll put this in. M Squared, any thoughts that you have on this game on either side?
No, I think there's a lot of, for daily fantasy players, there's some very interesting pieces. I think it's one that you could still lean over on Devontae Adams. I know that number's high at 96.5 now, but I think that he's someone who's going to continue to put out 100-plus yard games. And when he's right, the numbers obviously way soft. It's really, really difficult for sportsbooks to set a line on this guy because he's one of the 30-30 guys. And what we mean by that is 30% of the air yards, 30% of the targets. He's getting all of the passing volume from Aaron Rodgers here. If they're in a game script where they have to throw for 3.5 quarters, he's going to go over this number as long as there's not an injury.
So I want to ask a question, or actually I want to bring up a question from the chat from Chris Long. And I'm glad that you three are on here because arguably you three are the best to answer this question. So I'll put it up here on the screen. He says, let's address the elephant in the room. With the books moving the line so quickly due to Prop Stars' hot picks, is it proper to start taking the other side once that line moves big? All right. So I ask all three of you, any thoughts on this? Because I know that, once you start, hitting, a prop play, say yards, receptions, whatever, you hit it on one side, the line moves. You try to find that middle. If you're going to play it twice, I'll stop talking. Prop Stars, any thoughts that you have? M Squared, Maestro, you guys jump in as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are occasionally times where I've called a prop, it's moves significantly, and there is value on the other side. It just kind of depends on where it falls against your projections, and you feel you have an edge on it, and it's moved enough where you're comfortable taking it. I mean, I wouldn't just give it necessarily a rule of thumb where just because it moves 10 yards, that's the threshold you should play the opposite side of. But yeah, I think there are opportunities when something moves enough that you feel like you have an edge, you should play.
Yeah, I'll say that you need to be careful with it. It really depends on what the prop is because not all props are treated equally. Is it a prop that is it reception? A reception total versus yardage, very different. Reception total moving a full reception, very, very different than a yardage prop moving 4 yards. Also, yardage prop moving 4 yards on something from 76 to 80, much different than something moving, from 35 to 39, right? So there's a lot. It really depends. Is it a rushing prop? Is it an attempts, a handoffs prop? There are situations. So it's going to be situations where it's a rushing attempts prop that moves 3 rushing attempts because Alex gives it out on Tuesday. By the time Sunday rolls around, the market's moved it by 3. That's one where you're probably considering taking the other side. But generally speaking, if you're not comfortable with the massive line movement, it's more of a stay away than anything. So on a receiving yardage prop, typically what you're going to see, so Alex gives a play or I give a play and the market moves it by 3 to 5 yards. That doesn't mean that you should go bet the other side. It simply means that the market is now efficient. So now it is a coin flip, a 50-50 type play. It's not a negative EV play if you want to go ahead and play it. You just need to understand that you're not getting the massive edge that was had when the play was given, but it certainly doesn't make it a bad play in most cases, especially when it's a yardage play.
Makes sense. Maestro, any thoughts here?
Nothing to add. They're on point.
I got you. All right. We'll move to the next game here. We got the Bengals at the Lions. Bengals a 3.5-point favorite, a total of 46.5. Now, we've got a lot of prop plays on this game. Dave Richard's on Joe Burrow, under 35.5 pass attempts. He's also on Tyler Boyd, under 49.5 receiving yards. Maestro, you're on Lions plus 3.5. Prop stars, you're on St. Brown, over 4.5 receptions. And also DeAndre Swift, over 33.5 receiving yards. So, yeah, Alex, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the game? Thoughts on the props? What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is an interesting game to me. I think Detroit is better than the public perception of them is on both sides of the ball, too. I have saved Swift for this show, so I'll give some analysis on Swift. Over 33.5 receiving yards. He's seen his snap rate jump to season-high marks in back-to-back games from 73% to now 74%. Cincinnati has allowed a league-high 41 receptions to opposing running backs. Swift has cleared this total in 4 or 5 games this season. That's an 80% hit rate if you like things like that. He's averaging 50 yards receiving per game, just a hair under 6 catches a game. So he's very involved in the Lions pass catching game. There's a number of injuries in the receiving group for Detroit. Goff has one of the lowest ADOTs in the league. He's never been a guy that drives the ball downfield. He looks towards those short intermediate routes, tight ends, running backs. So, I absolutely love Swift's role in this offense. He's a very fluid route runner. It's also worth noting that Jamal Williams didn't practice until Friday this week. He may not be 100% healthy. Either way, I love this spot for Swift. He's firmly established himself as one of the premier pass-catching running backs and gets to take on a very friendly opposing defense to receiving running backs in Cincinnati.
Okay. Now, Maestro, great info there. You've got a play that you just added in regards to Jamar Chase, plus you have the Lions plus 3.5. Break both those down for us.
Yeah, I got the Lions at 3.5. I just think they are, fighting hard every single week, and it's a very flat spot for the Bengals coming off the overtime loss, traveling to the Ravens, the division leader, next week. I just think the Lions, with their fight and their hustle, can keep this, or can at least get us a backdoor cover. If they're down 10, they can make it 3. But Jamar Chase, the Lions secondary is bad, and they're giving up the most yards per attempt to wide receivers. Justin Jefferson had 124 last week. Jamar Chase, great, the Jags punted. This is just a disaster. Jamar Chase is operating as the clear number 1 now. The last 2 weeks, 19 targets, has gone over his prop number the last 2 weeks. This is 75.5 on FanDuel. It's going up. I think I like it. I think he'll get in the 90s. And I want to shout out my source, E, who has been all over Jamar Chase. And I love it as well, E. I'm going in with you. Let's do it.
All right. We got an E shout out. Also, I want to bring a show where we just watch the Maestro watch his bets.
You don't want that. You don't want that.
M Squared, any thoughts that you have on this one?
I don't have a ton of thoughts on it, other than I think it should be a fantastic game. I think it's one where the Lions can definitely steal one here. I like them with the points if I had to play it. But I do think that because I like them with the points there, I like the Swift prop. I think that someone we should be looking at just a little bit is T. Higgins. I think that this could be an interesting spot for him if the game script gets to the point where it is truly, truly competitive, if Detroit has a lead at any point in this game. I like the passing volume here, so I do like T. Higgins a bit. He's one that I would actually consider looking at over on the receptions number. I think that if they get into a bind at all, they're going to start targeting and peppering him with targets. I don't think it's necessarily going to be deep shots down the field, but he is a bigger wide receiver, and I think that he's going to be the guy that's going to catch some passes over the middle here. A lot might think that it'll be Tyler Boyd, but in this particular matchup, I do like T. Higgins quite a bit.
Now, before we go to the next game, I do have to say Walter Rogers in the chat says, AB's always laughing at something. Dude, it's the chat. You guys are hilarious. I'm telling you, I read every single comment. You guys are really funny. It's just another reason why I love this show. It's just fantastic. All right, go into the next game here. All right, this one interests me a lot. Texans at Colts. Colts are a 10.5-point favorite, a total of only 44. All right, so we saw the Texans last week lose it tight, 125-22 to the Patriots. The Colts, in that, infamous game against the Ravens, where they ended up losing 31-25 in Baltimore's big comeback there. This is a big number, 10.5. M Squared, start with you. Any thoughts that you have, anything that you see? We only have one play. Matt Severance is on the Texans plus 10.5. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's a shorter slate with only 10 main games this week, but I have zero interest in this game. I won't watch it. I don't have any interest in it. I just personally, there's nothing that interests me here in this division game. There's a lot coming. T.Y. Hilton coming back. Nothing that I want to invest in this spot, to be honest with you.
It's an honest answer. Like, I feel you. It's an honest answer. Maestro, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I'm just checking the Texans inactives. Does anybody know if the center is inactive? I'm looking at it right now because going into this game, it looks like, Britt is inactive. So you're missing your left tackle, Tunsil. You're missing your center. The guy replacing the center has played one career snap at center. He's a reserve O-line, but he has not played center. You also lost your right guard before last week's game, and the replacement did get beat for a sack against the Patriots, even though the offense played well. So you're really decimated on the O-line. I played the Colts minus 10. I wouldn't go over 10, but I played the Colts minus 10. I think T.Y. Hilton coming back. The offense looking healthier. I know it's a division game, but I just think Davis Mills with this offensive line in total disarray is going to really struggle.
Prop stars, any thoughts, buddy?
No, I mean, there's some opportunities I'm looking at. I'm interested to see if Wentz is going to continue playing well. He obviously had his season high game versus Baltimore last week. I think the Texans can hang at least in the first half. To have him throwing the ball, his numbers opened very, very low. Earlier in this week, there's been a ton of movement on Wentz's passing props, but there's not a whole lot I'm super interested in. Yeah,
it's fascinating in terms of Wentz's health. He's gotten much better week after week after week. You can definitely tell that he feels comfortable, on both of those ankles. So, and it's starting to show. You know what I mean? So, all right, next game, we're going to go Rams at Giants. Rams 7.5-point favorite, a total of 49. All right, now these two teams, quite interesting. The Rams beat the Seahawks 26-17 last week. The Giants lost 44-20 to the Cowboys. We've got, two plays on here. Matt Severance is on the Giants team total under 17.5. Prop stars, you got a Daniel Jones play, man. We'll start with you. What do you got?
I do. I absolutely love this play. It's Daniel Jones. I want to caution this is Daniel Jones, but it's Daniel Jones over 20.5 completions. First, right off the bat, we've got the return of Sterling Shepard. That's going to be a boost to the Giants' offense. The Rams' defense allows a lot of short completions. Daniel Jones is averaging 24 completions per game, 36 passing attempts, 296 passing yards per game. The Rams are allowing the second most completions and fourth highest opposing quarterback completion percentage. Jones has hit this in 4 or 5 games this season. I just think this is an amazing spot. This is also not the same Rams D we've seen all season long either. They're missing Darius Williams. He's one of the top corners in the league. Opponents are passing the ball 61.76% versus the Rams. They are a bit of a pass funnel. That's the 7th highest percentage. Opponent completion percentage is 69.9%. That is the 6th highest opposing percentage. So I think this is an amazing spot for Daniel Jones over 20.5 completion versus this Rams defense that bends but don't breaks. They allow a lot of underneath and short passes to be completed, and the Giants have the personnel where they let Daniel Jones throw a lot of these short and intermediate underneath routes. So
And given that he's coming off that concussion, probably should be running less. I believe Matt put that play in on the team total when he thought Daniel Jones was not going to play. I would love to find out if he still likes him. Early in the week, it didn't look like he was going to play. It looked like Mike Glennon.
There's been 3 points of line movement from early in the week. It was 10.5 for the first 2 days this week when it looked like Jones was going to be out. Other thoughts that I have on this game, it's one of the first situations for this Rams team where we've got a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for an early start time. Something to keep in mind. These teams typically start a little slower. It is a very, very early start time for them. Essentially, a 9 a.m. game for this Los Angeles Rams team. So just something to consider if you're looking at backing the Rams today.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see if what Rams team that we get. Because, Alex, you brought up in regards to their defense, it's not the same, and it is banged up, a little bit. But it seems like we're a long way away from that opening game against the Bears, where we all thought, okay, the Rams are just going to run through the league. They kind of came back down to earth, just a little bit. Another game that interests me, and M Squared, we're going to start with you here. The Chiefs at Washington. Chiefs a 6.5-point favorite, a total of 54. Chiefs coming off that 38-20 drubbing by the Bills. Washington lost 33-22 last week. Now, we've got a lot of prop plays on here, and we'll get to you guys here in a second. Dave's on Darrell Williams over 15.5 receiving yards. Prop stars, you're on over 10.5 rushing attempts for him. Larry, you're on Ricky Seals-Jones over 3.5 receptions. Also over 38.5 receiving yards for Ricky Seals-Jones as well. M squared, what Chiefs team are we getting here?
I think you're getting the absolute best version of them. And I do not necessarily agree with the market movement on this one. That's down to 6 in some spots right now. A little buying on Washington football team here. It makes a ton of sense because the Chiefs leave themselves open to the backdoor cover pretty much every single time they take the field. However, they're obviously the better team here. It's a great bounce back spot for them. I think they're going to come out buying. I think they're going to be great. So that's the team that I think shows up. I think you could look to their team total over. I do think that they touch 35 points in this game. So 30.5 is the number on it. I do like it. There are scenarios where they don't get there, but I don't really see many scenarios where they did not get to 30.5 today.
Yeah. Maestro, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I was just surprised to see Max Gorenstein post on Twitter. This is play of the day, week, month, and year, which we don't do at SportsLine. But he is so pumped up about this Chiefs team total over 30.5. And, you look who they played: Browns, Bills, Ravens, Chargers. And then the only outlier was the Eagles. And what did they do? 42. And so this looks similar. NFC East team on the road with a worse defense than the Eagles even. So it does look like a smash spot for the Chiefs.
You bring up a really good point that, this certainly isn't the same Chiefs team that we've seen the last couple of years. Clearly there are some issues, defensively, but that's a great point that their strength of schedule is pretty incredible. Like, you listing those teams out, like, that absolutely does mean something here. Now, question for any of you guys in regards to this game. In the chat, we had Maiden Focus says Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce going to smash. Any thoughts, on props, just them as a whole in this game? Anything that you saw that looked good, didn't look good, just leave it open for the floor.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of value on props, especially when you're looking at the other side. I mean, I think everybody's anticipating the Chiefs to continue to be an explosive, high-powered offense. But yeah, looking at the Washington football team, I think there was a ton of value. Larry is on Ricky Seals-Jones receptions. I'm on his yards. I think he opened very low. He's going to have a huge role in this offense. Kansas City has been very, very friendly to opposing tight ends. And there's also a variety of injuries on the Washington football team's receivers, as we know. Terry McLaurin is even hurt coming into the game. Curtis Samuel is listed out. Running back Antonio Gibson is banged up. So, yeah, there's not a lot of healthy bodies on this Washington football team offense who are going to move the ball. They're going to score. It's going to be a fast-paced game. I'm expecting a lot of offense. Yeah, I'm very excited about this game. I think there's a lot of opportunities for props as well.
Nice. M squared, any thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think the other thing to keep in mind, just because the Chiefs' defenses look bad and the Chiefs' offenses, I'm very interested in both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce overs as well. We've seen these numbers drop. They should be in the 90s consistently, especially against a defense like this. They're both sitting 81, 83. So if you look at power ratings, you look at, obviously I run simulations, but you look at the way the betting market has teams valued, the Chiefs are still a top 3 team in the NFL. Sounds absolutely insane based on their record, the games that they've lost. They're the 3rd best team in the NFL in every single consensus power ranking that is worth a damn. Like, they are a top 3 team in the NFL still. They're the number 2 team in the AFC. And this offense is going to put up points. They just are. And it's always going to come down to their defense. But the offense is going to put up points, which the good news about that, you can almost still guarantee a neutral or negative game script for the other team. Pretty much every week you're going to be playing against them. So you should be looking at those props. Our guys have already given them to you there, but there's still a ton of value out there. I don't even hate any of the Taylor Heineke props, whether it's completions, whether it's his rushing yards. I think he's going to find himself in a game where they're going to have just enough hope to hang on and be within striking distance that they're going to have opportunities.
And that is a massive edge that Mike just mentioned. Knowing each and every week that the opposing team or knowing that the Chiefs are going to score and put up a lot of points, and that conversely, on the other side, they are going to be forced to throw the ball. And yeah, that is just a big edge, having a good grasp and feel for the game script going into every single week, especially looking at props.
Nice.
So is Larry frozen or not? I can't tell.
I'm frozen. I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for this call. If the Jaguars, if this is a touchdown, then I might just walk out. I'm sorry, guys. I might have to leave.
The entire chat is focused on Maestro right here. They're like, my man is laser focused here. I'll tell you what. We'll go to squared on this game. Now, this is one that isn't necessarily getting a ton of traction. There are more popular games, so to say, but I think it's pretty good. Vikings -2.5 at the Carolina Panthers, a total of 45.5. Now, the Vikings beat the Lions 19-17 last week. The Panthers were upset by the Eagles. That one was a brutal one. I had the Panthers to cover on that game. That one was terrible. But here's the deal. The Panthers don't get Christian McCaffrey back. We thought there was a chance earlier in the week. He's inactive. He's not going to be able to play. And it seems like this Panthers offense is kind of falling apart a bit. We've seen Sam Darnold throw some picks over the last 2 weeks. So squared, I'll start with you. Thoughts that you see, anything that you like in this game here? The only play that we have is RJ's on the Panthers -1. That's it.
Yeah, RJ's on the Panthers -1, and that was put in when he basically thought that McCaffrey was going to be playing. That's been a very interesting story. So last week, McCaffrey was quoted as saying that he probably could go in the game. He was to the point where he was actually questionable last week. This week coming into it, it certainly looked like he was going to be ready to go. Now he's been placed on the injured reserve, going to be out for 3 more games minimum. Certainly not expected. I think what you've seen here with the Panthers is they've kind of come back to their median. They're a lot like the Denver Broncos. You can only play the teams that line up on the other side of you, and that's why they were so inflated to begin with. But neither one of these teams is very good. They're very, very average teams. Minnesota gets Dalvin Cook back. That's why you've seen a little bit more of the movement in the market. We thought Cook might sit again. They have a bye after this. I know Larry's mentioned some data about teams the week before the bye, and I think that you're seeing some buying on the Vikings because of that. I don't have a ton of interest in this game. I think that if I had to play it, I would probably play the contrarian over here, as both of these teams have had decent defenses at times and left things in there. But I think that these are two teams that, for better or worse, are almost always going to play to the ability of the other team that lines up against them. It's just kind of the way that they're built and the way that they're scripted. So if I had to play it, I would lean on the contrarian over, but I don't have any interest in the sides.
Everyone, make sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 500 likes so we can give out 5 free year-long subscriptions to SportsLine. Hit that like right now. Maestro, any thoughts you have on this game?
Yeah, I just think that Mike Zimmer's defense has I see the Jags drop another pass. Mike Zimmer's defense has really come back. After halftime against the Seahawks, you look at the last 10 quarters, it's been pretty good. They shut out the Seahawks. They played the Browns. It was 14-7. They played the Lions. It was 19-17. And I just think the injury reports look a lot better for the Vikings. Early in the week, we didn't know about Jefferson. We didn't know about Cook, and Lawson is still out for Carolina. So I kind of like the Vikings here, and the money is definitely on the Vikings. 50% of the tickets, but over 70% of the money at Caesars is on the Vikings.
Prop stars, any thoughts?
None, too much. Don't have a lot of interest in the game. Actually didn't end up rare game where I didn't have any props, I believe, either. Yeah, one thing I do find fascinating is the McCaffrey storyline. That was a huge shock to me, him getting placed on injured reserve late last night. So, yeah, nothing really from this game.
I got you. Honest answer. All right, next one. Chargers at Ravens. Could be the game of the day. Ravens are what? 3-point favorite? 3.5? 3, somewhere around that number. We got a total of 51 here. Chargers obviously coming off that electric game against the Browns where they won 47-42. And the Ravens, as we talked about earlier, beat the Colts 31-25 in overtime in that comeback win. Now, prop stars, you're on Austin Eckler, over 37.5 receiving yards. What are you seeing out of him? What are you seeing out of this game?
Yeah, so I love Austin Eckler. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I have been on his prop every single week, I think, besides the opening week versus the Cowboys. I think he just offers tremendous value anytime his receiving number is set under 40 yards. He just offers so much upside with his ability as a receiver. This is also an ideal matchup for him versus a Baltimore team that blitzes as much as any defense in the league. Baltimore has given up the second most receiving yards to opposing running backs. like I mentioned, the Baltimore just blitzes so much. The way you mitigate a blitz is by a screen pass or a pass out to the flats. Eckler is one of the most natural route runners at the position. He's just a massive mismatch for opposing linebackers. I think Patrick Queen is going to be tasked with having to cover Eckler out of the backfield. He has struggled immensely in coverage, the Ravens middle linebacker. We also know Mike Williams didn't practice all week. He is expected to play, but yeah, he may not be 100% healthy. So yeah, I just love this spot for Eckler. I think he's just positioned beautifully. If he's still available under 40 yards, I'd pounce on him, but unfortunately I think he's moved up to, I saw him as high as 47. I'd unfortunately pass on him at that number, but yeah, I love Eckler this week.
Man, that's a massive jump. Massive jump. Evan Squared, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, I really love the Ravens here in this spot. I think it's a great spot for them at home after the last week. Personally, it's a massive, massive public spot for the Chargers. They're one of the more popular bets this week. 60% of the tickets are going to be coming in on the Chargers, about 65% of the money coming in on the Ravens. Another one of those situations where we talked about with the other LA team, West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a very early start time. Mike Williams didn't practice either. It's a very, very early start time for them. But I really like the way that Lamar was slinging the ball, getting Mark Andrews involved again. One thing that the Ravens do really well is they find a way to be in pretty much every game. We're expecting it to be a competitive game. I give them their Larry Sogan. I give them the edge though on their home field. I like it quite a bit on the Ravens side, which is going to be a little contrarian on the public side, but definitely the Ravens are definitely the sharper side in the game.
Now, I was going to say, Maestro, you're on Chargers plus 3.5, and you had some thoughts on this game in the show this morning. Hit us with it. What you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was on the Chargers 3.5 just because I really thought the line should be 3 and or no more than 3, and it did come down and was 2.5 most of the week. But all the sharps are definitely on the Ravens, and what they're looking at is Justin Herbert has an otherworldly efficiency on 3rd and 4th downs that is just not sustainable. I mean, they are not really succeeding on 1st and 2nd down. He is bailing them out time and time again. I mean, I think it's going to be a close game. I would love to see it land on 3 because I have 2.5. I have the Ravens minus 2.5 in some contests, and I have the Chargers plus 3.5 as an actual play. So I will be rooting hard for this to land on 3.
Well, you got yourself a nice little Sunday lined up, Maestro. I like it. Now, question for any of you guys. Just some thoughts here that are in the chat. Marquise Brown, longest reception, over 26.5, has hit this every game so far. Thoughts there?
I'd be careful against this Chargers secondary. They are very good. Asante Samuel Jr., excellent rookie corner. They've played the outside receivers very well. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think they have been one of the stingiest defenses when it comes to defending opposing wide receivers. They're soft in the middle. Tight ends do well versus their defense. But yeah, I do love Marquise Brown. I'm buying into the Ravens offense. They're passing more than ever. I think that's going to continue to be a trend we see. They just don't really possess the personnel to be a running team. But yeah, I do expect them to cover receiver as well. So I would err a little bit cautiously on this prop personally.
Yeah, I'll comment and say the same thing there. They're going to play the 2-eye safety. They're going to beg the team to run the football. And I don't think they're going to give any deep shots here. So, yes, of course, he can get there. Like, it's very, very, very within his range of outcomes, especially if they find themselves down late in the game. Like, it's very possible. But if you're looking for receiving props on the Ravens side, it would be one of wide receiver 3 or 4s for me, or Mark Andrews, who I think is going to have opportunities over the middle of the field. But I'm not super interested in taking deep shots. We saw the way they did it against the Kansas City Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. I think it's going to be a very similar game plan here today.
Now, another question we have on the same one. Would you take Austin Eckler total yards over 98.5?
I think that is an efficient line personally. I lean over. I think I've been projected for slightly more than that, but I'm personally staying away from that. I don't think there's enough. The projection's not large enough for me to jump on that number.
Yeah. Maestro Squared, any thoughts you guys have?
Well, Alex, I'm shocked that the Eckler's only up from 37.5 to 39.5. Usually you move his line more in the 8 to 10 yard range, so I'm a little disappointed.
He's only 39.5?
Last I checked.
Oh, someone
Caesars.
Someone tweeted me he was 47.
Oh, wow. Well, at least on Caesars, 39.5.
He said, I'm a little disappointed. All right.
I'm happy when the numbers actually stay close to my that's great news for me. It pains me when I give out a prop and 5% of people following me on Twitter get the same number or less. It's absolutely awful. Now they're just taking the props down for a day after I tweet them out. So I'm elated to hear that Eckler is under 40 yards. So great news.
All right. I like it. Now.
And I should mention that Jonathan Taylor had, a 76-yard reception last week, and he's not the receiving back that Austin Eckler is. So they do have trouble covering those running backs.
Second most receiving yards to opposing running backs of any defense in the league. I think the Chiefs are first.
All right, now, we real quick, we do have to ask the most important question that we're ever going to have on this show, in this Today Show, in the chat here. Maestro, my man, get us up to date here. What are we looking at? What's going on in this game? Where are we at?
We're at the 2-minute warning. The Dolphins are driving. It's 2020. I almost would just take a 3-point Dolphins win right now because I feel we're probably going to go to overtime, probably going to get like a pick 6 for the Dolphins and the Dolphins cover. But no, I got Jags 3.5. I got Jags 3. I'm really invested. Let's do it.
I'm telling you, I can't wait till we get that live stream of the Maestro every single Sunday. He's like, no, don't ever say this again. Don't ever. No, we don't want any of that whatsoever. But I think it's fun, man. It's awesome to watch you watch these games. All right, only a couple games left here. A big one. Cardinals at Browns. Browns are a 3-point favorite. This is the afternoon slate here. A total of 48. Now, we have a lot of plays on this game from SportsLine. Matt Severance on the Browns -2.5. M Squared, you're on the Browns -2.5. You're also on Rondale Moore over 39.5 receiving yards. RJ White, he's on the Browns -2.5. Apparently, I'm an idiot. I'm on the Browns -3, but here we go. M Squared, I'll start with you. What do you see in this game? What do you see out of Rondale Moore?
Yeah, I love Rondale Moore. So I talked about it on the early edge this morning. I love the fact that he's going to be facing zone defense and the fact that we have weather. So the Browns play zone about as much as anybody in the National Football League, over 78% of snaps so far this season. What the zone defense is going to do is it's likely going to limit the deep shots. It should totally eliminate Christian Kirk, at least in terms of the number of routes that he runs and the deep shots that they take there. So, and they're without Max Williams, the tight end. Zach Ertz not available to join the team just yet. I expect a lot of passes, short passes around the line of scrimmage to Rondale Moore and to Chase Edmonds. And then the wind. It's going to be 20-plus mile-per-hour sustained winds, gusts up to 30. Combine that with the fact that they're going to be sitting in a zone. They're not going to be taking a ton of deep shots. And when they do, it could be to DeAndre Hopkins, but he's going to draw the additional attention of the defense here, especially in these conditions. So I love Rondale Moore over 38.5. He ran more routes last week than Christian Kirk. This should be the continuation of his welcome to the NFL party here. So I like him a lot. Like the Browns, have them in a lot of teasers at +3.5. I got the Jags right now at +10, so we're sweating that out. I think we should be good to go on that one. But yeah, I think the Browns are the better team in this spot. And, another one of those games, it's a travel situation. It's not an early start time for the Cardinals. But anytime you have a 5-0 team in the NFL at this point in the season, you can guarantee that they're inflated by at least 1.5 points in the betting market.
So, M Squared, real quick, and we'll get to prop stars, we'll get to Maestro, you guys' thoughts on this game. I do want to ask you, all right, and I mean this. Just from, an elementary level, an introductory level, when we talk about a game that has weather, a game that has, like you said, 20-mile-an-hour winds, explain, what effects will we see in that game? How does it affect the quarterbacks? How does it affect the wide receivers? How does it affect the kicking game? Just anything that you could shed light on, man. I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, no, it affects the kicking game for sure. It's definitely, that's where it's going to have the biggest impact when it starts getting above 20. It'll affect deep passing for most quarterbacks, but the real interest here is the combination of the weather with the team sitting in the zone defense like that. It's certainly going to encourage them to sit in the zone even more. So it does have an impact on passes, 15-plus yards down the field, but the real impact is going to be in the kicking game where we should see these two teams like to go for it on fourth down anyway. So it should be one of those situations where we could pick up an extra reception or two for some of the skill players, because I don't think they're going to be eager to kick field goals over probably 38 to 40 yards in this game.
Yeah, excellent point. And you're right in terms of, both teams liking to go on fourth down. Prop stars, your thoughts on this game, buddy?
Yeah, this game absolutely fascinates me. I've been a Browns truther all offseason. Larry and I are both on their team total over 10 wins. So, yeah, I agree. I do think the Browns are the better football team than the Cardinals. I do like the Cardinals a lot. I just want to put that out there. But, yeah, this Browns team top to bottom is amazing. I do find it amazing as well that you have Nick Chubb, who is going to miss the game, and there's very minimal drop-off when you have Kareem Hunt backing him up. So, yeah, I just think this team has the depth. They're tremendous, top to bottom, defense, offense. Can't wait to see it. It's a great matchup. I'm super excited.
And actually, Kareem Hunt has been a more efficient runner this year. I mean, it's still a big loss when you lose a guy like Chubb. And we talked about the Cardinals center is out. The Cardinals' best pass rusher is out. And Kyler Murray has a shoulder injury, and we saw how it affected him late last year. He wasn't the same guy. We'll see if it's as significant as it affected his play last year. We'll see how it affects him today. But, yeah, the Browns are the side. I mean, it is a wave of sharps on the Browns this week.
Everybody, make sure hit that like button right now. We only have 2 more games to break down, so we're running out of time. If you want to get in our giveaway for SportsLine year-long subscriptions, make sure to hit that like right now and get that thing done. All right, now this game is going to be very fascinating to me. We got Raiders at Broncos. All right, Broncos up to a 5-point favorite, total of 44. I believe that line was 3.5 Broncos when the John Gruden news came out. So from then to here, we've gotten to 5. But you're looking at a Raiders team beyond all the Gruden part. The last 2 weeks, their offense has regressed severely. They only scored 9 against the Bears last week. But you're also looking at a Broncos team to where their back is kind of against the wall as well. They've lost 2 straight. They're looking to get back on track. It's a divisional game. Maestro, we'll start with you. We've got 2 plays at SportsLine here. Matty Severance is on the Broncos -3. I'm on the Broncos -3.5. What are your thoughts here on this game?
I'm just frantically trying to find out why this line has ticked up, even further. You guys seen anything that will suggest why? Because I haven't seen anything that's going to account for this late movement.
Yeah, literally the only news that I saw was the Raiders activated Marcus Mariota last night. That's literally it. Which would have no effect on the line whatsoever, like that. You know what I mean? So it
could just be a lot of public money on game day. Looking at the Gruden situation, that's fine. But I mean, nothing has changed from where we were Friday.
Correct. Yeah. Prop stars, your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly singularly looking at various prop storylines, paying attention to things that will affect props. So the main thing I'm going to be focusing on in this game is how the new Raiders interim coach, Rich Bisaccia, I hope I'm saying that correctly, how the run game is going to go for the Raiders. For a number of reasons, we don't know if Josh Jacobs is going to continue to be the workhorse back in Oakland. Peyton Barber is also active and healthy and playing in this game. So yeah, I'm going to be paying close attention to how those backfield touches are deployed. I'm not sure. Jacobs has not been efficient this year. He's been dealing with injuries, but yeah, he has not been efficient this year or even dating back to previous seasons. So I'm going to be really interested to see if they split the backfield work, if Jacobs remains the workhorse, or how the backfield touches get split up. There's also obviously Kenyon Drake back there as well.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated to see, you brought up an excellent point in terms of, who's taking over the team. But I believe Greg Olsen is now going to be calling plays for Las Vegas. Now, this is, a play caller that Derek Carr has experience with. So it's not like it's somebody brand new. It's not like they changed the offense whatsoever, but it is someone different in the headset. Like there is a difference there. I don't know how much that has value, in terms of the team. M Squared, any thoughts that you have on this game? Any props, plays, just anything that you're looking at that you almost took? Anything you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because of the coaching staff here, but I personally would be on the Raiders if I had to play it. At this number, it's now 5.5 in several spots in the market. It's getting to the point where it's a little out of hand. I've been very anti-Denver Broncos for the most of the season. I think they're one of the more overrated teams in the NFL. Yes, it is a home game for them, but overall, I've got nothing on it right now other than if I was going to play it, it would have to be taking the points with the Raiders here.
Prop stars.
Yeah, one of the props that got out earlier in the week was Javonte Williams over 44.5 rushing yards. I still love that prop. I'm not sure what it's presently at. It was taken down for like 3 days. I think that had something to do with Melvin Gordon's status being uncertain. He is active. I still love the spot for Javonte Williams. I also know his rushing attempts was 9.5. Again, I'm not sure what that number is presently, but I definitely like that over as well. I think Javonte Williams is one of the best young running backs in the NFL. He's looked phenomenal this season. I believe he's had double-digit carries in all but one game. I expect that trend to continue versus a very soft Raiders defense, especially in the middle. So, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the young running back for Denver.
And by any metric, he's been much better, and it's frustrating that it's been such an even split. Hopefully today is the day they really hand it over to him.
He deserves it.
That's a good point. All right, we are on our last game. Excuse me. This is your last chance to get to 500 likes. Either do it now or we're not going to get there. So everybody in the chat, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want to be involved in a giveaway of 5-year-long subscription to SportsLine, this is your last shot to do it. All right, we got the Cowboys and the Patriots. Now, this game is going to be awesome. You look at what the Cowboys have done this year. They are just incredible. 5-0 against the spread. Overs 4-1 in their games. They beat the Giants 44-20 last week. The Patriots 2-3 against the spread, 2-3 straight up. The under is 4-1. In fact, a little nugget here. 13 straight games the Patriots have played with a total of 47 or fewer, I should say. We've got a couple plays here. David Shard's on Ezekiel Elliott over 94.5 total yards. Prop stars, you're on Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions. We got a site play, RJ White, Patriots plus 3.5. Maestro, I'm going to start with you. Do the Cowboys get to 6-0 against the spread?
I don't think so. I think they're inflated. I think this line should not be more than 3. The Patriots were down 4 offensive linemen last week. I know some of those guys are back. The Cowboys have been extreme. I mean, I love watching the Cowboys and their offense, but they've been extremely fortunate with turnovers and like impact turnovers too. So, if you force me to pick this one, I would take the Patriots. I mentioned this morning, NFL Ref Stats, a great account, has the note that the refereeing crew is 18-10-1 against the number 4 home dogs. That's just another factor in the Patriots' favor.
M squared, any thoughts you got?
Yeah, basically the same story. I've been higher on 2 NFC teams, and that would be the Packers and the Cowboys. And even in my model, Dallas is inflated at this point. They are inflated in the betting market. I do think that they should win the game. They're very clearly the better team. Not going to shock me at all if they win this game by a touchdown. Having said that, though, I cannot bet on them. I'm not betting on the Patriots either. I should be betting on the Patriots at 3.5. I'm not.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
What happened?
What happened?
Go.
Maestro.
Jags win.
Jags win. Jags win.
There we go.
Outright.
Come on, Maestro.
Right.
Let's get hyped.
Sorry,
Wow.
RJ.
All is well in the universe. Orders restored.
I love
Maestro.
Jeweler, we're absolutely clipping that right there. That was
They
awesome.
just broke a 20-game losing streak.
Yes, they did. They had
And
to go
it
out of
looks
the country
like it.
to do
It
it,
looks
but they
like
did
it.
it. I love
Urban
it.
Meyer is going dancing tonight, fellas.
Whoa. Oh, man. Prop stars, what's your thoughts on this game, man? What do you
Yeah,
see? Jeweler, there we go.
I was going to pop in and said, I think that means drinks in the pub later, all on Larry.
I love it. Prop stars, what's your thoughts on this game, man?
Yeah, so speaking of tight ends, I love Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions. Henry has quietly racked up 19 targets over the last 3 games. He's become a big focal point of New England's aerial attack. He's coming off a season best game, 75 yards, 1 touchdown. He reeled in 6 of 8 targets. Over half of Mac Jones' targets go to his running backs and tight ends. James White recently placed on injured reserve, as we know, so that leaves a huge number of targets that could potentially go towards Hunter Henry. I expect the former Charger to take advantage of the Cowboys' cover 3 scheme. It's very vulnerable to quick and underneath passes, something the Patriots offense excels in, and Mac Jones has definitely done a lot of this season. Dallas has given up 27 receptions, 5.4 per game, 330 yards, 66 yards per game to the tight end position this season. Also, it takes time to acclimate to New England's playbook. Henry is looking more and more comfortable each week. I expect him to continue to serve as Mac Jones' safety valve. I have him projected for at least 4 receptions in this game. I think if the game script becomes negative, he could have a much bigger day. So, yeah, I absolutely love Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions if you can find him.
Double H. I like it. Now, Jeweler, go ahead and pull that recap on the screen. I believe we have 2 recaps, by the way, of picks. I want to make sure that we have enough time for everyone to get their plays in. Prop stars, Daniel Jones, over 20.5 completions. DeAndre Swift, over 33.5 receiving yards. The Maestro, Jamar Chase, over 75.5 receiving yards. I'm on the Browns -3. And hit it with the number 2. Jeweler, what do we got? Boom. Now, look. I'm not going to read through that. Nobody in the world wants to hear my voice for that much, but we are going to leave that up. Jeweler, if you'll leave that up for just a second. Everyone make sure tune in tonight. The Early Edge, same time or same place. We'll be live at what time, Jeweler? 7:20? Is that right?
Yeah, it should be 7:20 since that'll be an hour before Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, 7:20. We're going to get you all set for Sunday Night Football. We'll go for an hour, recap some of the wins, losses, everything across the NFL, and we'll get all of your bets ready for Sunday Night Football. So before we jump out of here, I want to give everybody a couple final thoughts here. Quick 15, 20, 30 seconds. Maestro, anything that you're seeing today, anything on your mind in regards to NFL betting?
Yeah, I think the Browns-Cardinals is the game I want to see the most. And like Alex was saying, we were in on the Browns before the season. And the tough losses to the Chiefs and to the Chargers. I mean, they were up 27-13 on the Chargers and had them on a 4th down and couldn't stop them. And that game got away. If they're who we thought we thought they are, they should win today. And Chief agrees that this is the spot for the Browns and not for the Cardinals. The Cardinals take their first loss.
All right. Prop stars, what you got, buddy?
Yeah, I just want to see a loop of Larry celebrating when the Jaguars won that game. If we can somehow just have that 5-second GIF just playing on loop, that would just make my absolute day. So it's hard for me to even think of these other games after seeing what we just witnessed with Larry. So I'm just going to hand it over to Mike.
I love it. M Square, what you got, buddy?
Yeah, I feel the same way. But yeah, I'm very interested in that Browns-Cardinals game and then the Ravens-Chargers. I'm very interested to see how these games play out. A lot of opinions on both sides of both games. So I think it's going to be a fantastic day of football. It's a little sad that the afternoon slate is so weak, but the good news is we don't have to flip through a lot of screens. We're all going to be locked in on that Browns game.
Yeah. And, my final thought is this. I saw a lot of videos of planes of Bills fans coming into Nashville yesterday. There's going to be a lot of Bills. Mike, I'm sure that you've seen, in downtown. All over. There's a lot. They
travel well.
So what kind of home crowd? I mean, is that going to affect what it sounds like?
It will a little bit. And I'll say this, everybody, what's not being talked about. Remember last year, that weird COVID Tuesday week 4 game where the Titans just smashed the Bills. Every single Bills fan that I've talked to has not forgotten that whatsoever. And the team hasn't forgotten that either. So I'm fascinated to see what Monday looks like. But yeah, there's a lot of Bills fans here, a ton of them. But you know what? We have to wait. We have all the way till Monday for that one. Now, we didn't give any coach. Well, we actually gave one this morning in terms of M squareds, but we are going to give this one. You have your marching orders. No, nobody wants to hear that. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Seriously, 7:20 Eastern tonight. Tune in. We will get you all set up for Sunday Night Football. We thank you so much for tuning in. The courtesy of the Maestro and the Jeweler, we cashed the Jags, took that straight to the pay window, and we're going to take these straight to the pay window as well. So thank you so much. See you guys tonight.